Hello all, it is your friendly panda, yes, that panda guy, and I'm here again with another video, and today we're going through the Boone last day push that they just popped out of the freaking woodworks and went off on. I first wanted to talk about this dude from G3 who told me about how he spent like 6,000 on healing packets, and that was nuts to me. I was like, what in the world, man? And I can't even imagine how much money Boone or just these other alliances might have spent. Like, or you just Blue, Jess, any of these people. I can't even imagine how much they ran through doing this. But I'm gonna now start talking about the situation Boone faced as they progressed and what they had to do, what they had to deal with, and how they kind of were going about it. So I will say that it's always possible I'm wrong about a few of these things, but I think generally I'm probably more correct. So first off, Boone had been doing a kind of okay, so they basically were targeting this level 7 that ANCS owned, and eventually they connected towers and burnt and disconnected them from even being able to access it, or everything was grayed out towards it. And basically they ignored the level 6 fishing village that was down there that RPG owned. And I think the main thing was that they actually didn't care to connect towers, and they actually were probably avoiding doing it because they would waste extra time actually fighting them off and possibly risk themselves being disconnected if they did that. And I think that was pretty smart of them and kind of forced ANCS to actually build up into them. Same with RPG, because they of course RPG had to build a tower down there and try to cut them off from the flank, and that's exactly what RPG tried to do, and they failed. And I actually had watched that, and it was really weird because they had defended a building tower with Maya and Lewis. And I mean, I don't think that it would have been the worst, but I don't think that's smart, especially when I don't know, if you're defending a building tower, use, I don't know, Tom, just someone, right? That can maybe a heal ability. I don't know how I feel about Maya holding that, especially if you're trying to, I don't know, that was just really weird to me to see. And you guys will see the footage in a bit, but that was just really weird. But I mean, so Boone was basically building up, and they had to, just go as fast as possible, because the longer they took, the more people that would come online, the more field presence they would have to fight. And basically Boone was getting ANCS. So during this, ANCS actually started trying to build a tower into one of their flanked areas. And I'm pretty sure the main point was obviously to cut them off and also kind of divert their attention from the main battlefield. And I will give it to H&T. They were monsters. They had so much field presence. Their field control was insane. I'm pretty sure this is due to the monstrous number of tier 6 players, because of course tier 4 will have zero place in here. So just trying to fight on the field as a tier 4 player, you're gonna melt. Even tier 5 players probably are struggling to have a real battle presence, and that's where Boone excels, right? Because you see a lot of these people from ANCS and even RPG. I feel like RPG had less field presence than H&T did, but I see a lot of ANCS didn't have insane field presence. And that's not to say they were doing bad. They were trying their best in these towers, but I did see a lot of mistakes. In this case, they did have Blue holding this tower, but in a lot of their towers, they actually had the wrong people defending them, and it was really weird to see because I saw for example, there was a building tower, and Blue was swarming the rally that was on it right beside it, and he wasn't trying to become garrison captain, and that was really not a smart move, especially when you consider I don't know, the bad trades that tower is going to be taking. It's melting, and these people in your alliance are taking really bad trades, and it's going to exhaust them really fast and just throw them out of commission. And you need those players to be able to keep filling in flags and all that kind of stuff. And it's just not smart if you aren't able to get a proper garrison captain, or just at least someone to change. Because even if he did hop in that flag, I don't know if Blue has the time to kind of change who's garrison captain. You need somebody on that, someone trying to make sure everybody's flags, or just coordinating your members, whatever it might be. And that was something I saw them fall off in a lot, and I know I keep mentioning that, but it was a big mistake they made. And I mean, yeah, I just kind of wanted to point that, because you guys got to know that you got to just know who's defending your towers. You got to make sure you actually have someone who's your strongest players. It's pretty common sense at this point. I do mention it a lot, and I think that people definitely should catch on to this, because you definitely need to. I also want to say that it was kind of like a 1v4 in a sense, though that wasn't, because I saw as Boone basically built up, ANCS buffered around their level 7 territory, as well as Hot, because they actually started buffering up around their territory, and I think this was basically to block Boone, and this was probably as a thank you, I guess, because I think Hot wasn't touched, since they were so small, and every alliance, I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but they were like not touching them since they were so small, as like a nice gesture, which was pretty cool of everybody. That was just pretty nice of everybody. Also, look at this Maxine hitting the rally. I don't know what they were trying to do here, but they were melting. That was a big old melt. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they do not have a proper, like, the right garrison on. Like, you see this? It's 1 for 5, 1 for 6 trades most of the time on that tower. Like, that is disgusting and disturbing. And I think Blue ends up becoming garrison captain eventually. But if I remember correctly, he ends up pulling his march out after the rally ends. And I mean, you do not want to pull out. It had 2 minutes building left. All they had to do was hold on for 2 more minutes, and that thing was gonna build. He pulls out, and they just start mad swarming it, and they just melt the tower into oblivion. And I mean, it was, I don't know. I feel like that was like such a simple mistake. They made so much, and all of course everybody's gonna make mistakes, especially when you're inexperienced, and everybody can learn from it. But that was really hard to watch. Like, dude, just look at the numbers. Look at the white numbers on this. And you now see Blue in here. The trades are a lot more favorable in ANCS's side, because Blue is a monster. His gear is insane. His heroes are probably insane, and just his research, of course, is maxed out. So like you're gonna be seeing good trades here. But I think it gets swarmed soon when Blue actually like recalls from the tower, and that was just ugh. Yeah, they're still on it. But I will mention, okay, there he goes. He left the tower, and they had the wrong people in here. And like, why? Why did they ditch the tower? You see these white numbers? That's like 10,000 each time. And the trades are so favorable for Boone. Like, you see how little they're losing for how much they're killing? Like, that is just disgusting. And I do want to say again that Boone was kind of forced to focus on RPG with a small team, because they were trying to keep them from actually dislodging their flank. And ANCS kept dropping towers right here. And like I said, it was actually to probably kind of force them to make sure they were focusing down that tower. And if they didn't focus down the tower, ANCS would be able to put up more pressure, because like, for example, in the case of Blue, I doubt he cared about his losses. So if it did come down to them attaching, he probably would have just kept swarming the tower infinitely and wouldn't care. And I think that actually does happen, where they just start swarming the tower, him and Jess. And that was disgusting. And H&T was just keeping up an insane field presence. They did change their tag, but I'm just going to keep calling them H&T for now. And I will say the fact that H&T was putting so much pressure up here was really a problem for Boone, because they probably had to split their forces into dealing with H&T and actually making sure they didn't get too aggressive and try to push into their territory, as well as Boone's constant expanding, because of course Boone can't stop expanding here, or they're just going to be shut down. They're going to be pushed back, and they're kind of forced to focus a big fighting force on holding these players down, pushing them back, as well as taking on multiple fronts, trying to take down ANCS's towers, trying to stop RPG, which they end up swarming this tower down. Or not even swarming. I think they rallied and swarmed it down. And you see right here, Maya, what I was talking about earlier, this was really, I don't know how I felt about this defense. And then, I mean, the trades are favorable. It's almost like 1 for 2 trades right here. And it only becomes better like the longer they go on. Like, the trades are only going to become more favorable. And they end up taking this tower down when it didn't have like a lot of time to build. I also think in the case of this tower, RPG should have been like, they should have at least had a group focused on keeping it full, because as you see, the trades become really bad. And I think they were so focused on the field, and they just didn't care. Like, they didn't care to focus on this tower at all, or just reinforcing it. I don't know why. Like, they should have definitely had people like specifically sending troops up just to get in that tower and keep it standing, keep it building. And they failed at that. And that was like, I don't know, like, I feel like that's definitely simple, especially if you're trying to take that territory and you want to make it as hard as possible for Boone. And then basically right when that tower dropped, Boone ended up dropping their own tower to counter RPG, stop them from pushing up. And now you just see them trying to swarm this tower down. And you see the difference between Boone and RPG here, where RPG didn't keep their tower full, and Boone was making sure they were reinforcing, as well as having, just Tom on that tower. Because when you're especially building a tower compared to, even if like the tower's already built, it's harder to get reinforcements in there and stuff. Whereas like if the tower's already building, like having a Tom in there is insane. And you actually see Thunder, and Thunder, from what I'm hearing, is a monster. His healing ability is insane, and it makes it so much easier and harder actually for people to take your tower down, because like, all those slightly wounded are instantly going back into the battle and just keeping the tower alive as long as possible. And that is like such a plus. And that's why you're going to see a lot of infantry on towers. That's also one reason I'm assuming that Tree rallied with archers, because you probably assume that they'd hold with like Tom or something, as well as the fact that he does have tier 6 range, so like his tech is better in that regard. But yeah, this video is almost over. You guys can watch this little bit of footage, but I mean, I don't know, I feel like there were a lot of mistakes made here, and I don't know, I definitely give Boone just a celebratory round of applause for how hard they fought. They fought really hard, but at the end of the day, they couldn't really do much against the pressure of these three monstrous alliances. And I mean, you can't really expect a lot from these guys. They did their best. I mean, you guys see this tower defense right here. This got melted so hard. Like, look at all the tier 6 just swarming. I will say that they ended up porting and defending this, but it kind of like, I feel like this was a really big issue for Boone, because the thing is, if they don't take out an ANCS tower, they finally attach, and it forces them actually to make sure they're focusing more on defending that tower instead of taking down the tower, refocusing back on the battlefield. And the second that ANCS tower actually got placed, I think it was kind of the turning point for the battle and kind of ended them. Besides the fact that they were actually just getting drained of all their resources, all their speed ups, everything, just trying to fight off on the field and everything. And I mean, you guys see that they slowly lost pressure on the field, because I mean, their players just started just draining out. And I mean, what do you do? It happens, and they just couldn't really do much in this situation. But like I said, I do give Boone a big applause. They did their best to hold this, and I mean, the second they were forced to defend this tower, they gave up the main front line. Just, it was whatever. So you guys have a good day, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little series.